Life happens fast. And in an instant, disaster could strike. When the choices you make mean the difference between life and death, what would you do?
We're going down, we're going down!
Put yourself to the test and see if you have what it takes to stay alive. Would you do or die? It could happen to almost any town, on any coast, of any continent in the world. You feel a sudden shaking. Then, after it seems like the worst is over, the ocean rises up and swallows everything you know. Friday, March 11th, 2011, 2:45 p.m. Delivery driver Yu Moroga is making his normal rounds through the streets of Sendai, Japan. He's just a few hours from starting his weekend, blissfully unaware that 80 miles away, deep below the sea, hundreds of years of pent-up tension along the opposing Pacific and Eurasian plates is about to explode. The ground beneath Moroga's wheels suddenly begins to shake. This quake is a staggering 9.0 on the Richter scale, the fourth largest since records began. For its magnitude, the damage appears minimal. Unfortunately, it's just the calm before the storm. An hour after the shaking ceases, Yu returns to making his deliveries, when suddenly, a rush of cars fills the intersection. But to Yu's horror, they're not driving, they're floating. Water begins rushing in from all sides. In just 10 seconds, the bone-dry blacktop has become a raging torrent. Yu's car is tossed around like a paper boat. The danger is rising, and he needs to act fast. Put yourself in Yu's seat and see if your instincts would keep your head above water. What would you do? A. Roll up your windows and steer your car like a boat. B. Abandon your car and run or swim to safety. Or C. Avoid drowning by climbing on top of your floating car. Here's what you should consider. You're in a half-sunk vehicle, surrounded by debris, and caught in the wake of a massive tsunami. A nearly 200-mile stretch of the Pacific Plate has suddenly slipped, thrusting the seafloor upward an estimated 33 feet. It's called a megathrust, and it just sent a 30-foot-high wall of water hurtling toward the coast at 500 miles per hour, as fast as a commercial jetliner. As the wave approaches the coastline, it loses speed, but it's still coming at you with devastating power and has the potential to reach 6 miles inland, and you're less than a mile from the sea. It's do or die time. Make your choice. A. B. Or C. So, what would you do? If you think you could hang 10 and ride out this killer wave, you could climb on top of your car and try to drift to safety. But trying to ride out this surge poses a serious danger. As the tsunami washes over the city, it collects debris, including stranded cars, channeling them through the streets and into a giant debris field. Here, the force of the rushing water can crush a car like a tin can. And you along with it. Try to surf this tsunami, and you're headed for one killer wipeout. With your car still bobbing on the surface, you might want to use your wheels like rudders to steer toward a tall obstacle, like a building or a tree that could offer higher ground. But unless your car just happens to have an outboard motor, a turn of your tiny wheels will have no effect on the direction you drift. And that's if you can stay afloat. Even if you roll up your windows in this situation, you wouldn't make your vehicle watertight. So it's just a matter of time before your makeshift boat becomes a submarine. Once underwater, the car's electrical system will quickly short out. And the pressure from all that water surrounding your car makes it nearly impossible to open your door or kick out a window. You're trapped. Try to sail out of this tsunami, and you might go down with the ship. So what should you do? If you want to survive this massive surge, the best thing to do is abandon your car and run or swim to safety. First, get to a vantage point to locate the nearest high ground. Then, jump in the water and get away from the churning debris as fast as possible. The general rule is to get at least 50 feet above the waves. If that's not an option, find the highest point you can and hold on tight. If you're caught in the same situation as driver Yu Maroga, taking a leap of faith out of your car might just save your life. So you survived Mother Nature's fury. Maybe you'd prefer your next encounter with nature to be at a safer distance. Like at the zoo. Separated from these impressive creatures by thick glass and reinforced steel, zoogoers are given a secure peek into wild animal kingdoms far different from our own. But nature's killer instinct can sometimes find its way between the bars. The Alaska Zoo in Anchorage. Nearly 200,000 visitors tour these grounds every year. Normally, the roars of Siberian tigers and howls of wolves fill the air. But today, a different sound rises above all others. The sound of sheer terror. A tourist is caught in the jaws of an 850-pound polar bear.
Oh my God!
The 29-year-old woman hopped 2 safety barriers to get a closer picture of the beast. Big mistake. Now, Her left thigh is being skewered by the bear's massive canines. With handlers minutes away, bystanders rip off tree branches and try to save the helpless woman. Now, grab a branch and take the place of a would-be rescuer. Would you know how to save this woman from the jaws of death? What would you do? A. Use the branch to pry open the bear's mouth. B. Beat the sticks on the ground or shake them above the bear's head. Or C. Assert your dominance and strike at the bear's face. Here's what you should consider. Armed with a flimsy branch, you're within reach of an apex predator and desperately trying to save a helpless victim from its killer grasp. The world's largest carnivore on land, the polar bear is a king among beasts. It can grow over 9 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. Its paws, up to 12 inches long, are equipped with razor-sharp claws that can grow over 2 inches long. And its nearly 2-inch canines are perfectly adapted to kill prey. And right now, those massive canines are just inches away from the victim's femoral artery. One wrong shake of its mighty head, and she could bleed out in just minutes. With the woman's life on the line, it's now or never. Make your choice. A. B. Or C. So, what would you do? With the tourist's femoral artery just inches away from lacerating canines, you could reach for a branch and try to pry open the bear's jaws. Polar bears are built for power. Its bite can come down with a force of nearly 1,200 pounds, enough to snap a femur. And since bone can be up to 4 times stronger than concrete, your flimsy branch doesn't stand a chance. Try to pry open this bear's jaws, and you'll just leave a bad taste in its mouth. If prying the animal's jaws open isn't the answer, maybe you need to beat it on the head to get it to let go. Polar bears have what researchers call behavioral inertia. Meaning, once they set their minds to something, like hunting or feasting, good luck breaking their focus. Plus, you don't become the king of the Arctic by backing away at the first sign of a struggle. In fact, polar bear males frequently fight for fun. And considering those 12-inch paws can release enough power to kill a whale, they're used to taking licks much stronger than anything you can dish. So what should you do? Believe it or not, your best chance at getting the bear to back off in this scenario could be to beat the sticks against the ground or shake and wave them above its head. Researchers in the Arctic have proven this to be an effective method. Although the reasoning is not fully clear, some researchers believe that this action may mimic the movement of a walrus raising and lowering its deadly tusks. One of the few things in the wild that polar bears actually need to be careful of. Because for a hunter, in an unforgiving landscape, any injury that slows you down is as good as a death sentence. Mimicking the action of a walrus's thrashing tusks may very well be your best option. Of course, the experts agree that if you're the victim of a polar bear attack, all bets are off, and you should fight for your life any way you can. Thankfully for this woman, the bear decides to let go. She suffers severe lacerations and a broken leg. But considering how much damage could have been done, she's lucky, very lucky, to be alive. So Arctic animals may not be your thing, but you're determined not to let that scare you from the snow. High up on Mount Shasta, well away from groomed ski runs, James Drummond feels like he has the slopes all to himself. But in a flash, he goes from being king of the hill to being at the mercy of the mountain. James falls headfirst into a hole in the snow. All alone and fighting for his life. Mount Shasta, located at the southern end of the Cascade Range in Northern California. This solitary peak is considered a legendary destination among backcountry skiers and snowboarders. On this day, James Drummond, an experienced rider, has set out alone for an epic adventure. But his action-packed thrill ride suddenly turns into a date with sheer terror. He's fallen into a deadly trap known as a tree well. A deep void around the base of the tree that's concealed by loose unpacked powder gathered around the branches. James knows he's in trouble and manages to dial his wife.
I'm a ski park. I'm stuck in a tree well. I'm going to die if they don't find me.
Within minutes,
Hello?
the ski patrol is en route. But James's troubles are far from over. A man under the snow on Mount Shasta could take hours to find. Now, we're putting you on James's snowboard, falling headfirst into this snowy hellhole. You need to buy time until rescue arrives. What would you do? A. Use your legs to create an air hole. B. Pull yourself closer to the tree trunk and take shelter in the tree well. Or C. Use your hands to cover your mouth. Here's what you should consider. You're upside down, buried in snow, and trapped in a frozen death trap known as a tree well. Tree wells are invisible on the surface, but get too close, and you're sucked right in, where you can suffocate within minutes. Approximately 10% of deaths in ski resorts are the result of suffocation in snow. And 9 out of 10 people that fall in are unable to get themselves out. The snow around you is like quicksand and has you buried alive. It's do or die time, and time is what you need. Make your choice. A. B. Or C. So, what would you do? With your oxygen running low, you could try to create an air hole by twisting your legs back and forth. Tree wells can fill with what experts call unconsolidated snow. Unlike hardened snowpack, it's loose and free-flowing. With your snowboard fixed to your feet, twisting your legs would scoop powder right into your hole, replacing what little gaps of air are keeping you alive. Choose to twist your legs back and forth, and you may as well use a shovel to fill your own grave. So if shimmying your legs isn't the answer, you may want to claw your way closer to the tree and use the canopy of branches for shelter. But grabbing the tree might have a killer consequence. It could shake snow down from the branches above. The added snow would pack around you, cut off your air, and bury you so deep it could be spring thaw before you're found. If you chose to pull yourself toward the tree trunk, you've made a deadly decision. So what should you do? If you want to survive this disaster date with death, gently use your hands to clear a space around your face. Then cover your mouth to prevent the unconsolidated snow from suffocating you. Hopefully, you'll buy enough time for the ski patrol to track you down.
Hey, don't move.
James's clever actions
I'm stuck in a tree well.
help him survive being buried alive for an incredible 67 minutes. An encounter with death he will never forget. Cover your mouth. That's what you do if you don't want to die.